In this world, silence means survival. The one person who has a hard time being silent is Duane Davis.
Really, at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, if what they're saying is really true, there are no facts to point to Keffe.
Day one of the trial of Duane Keffe D. Davis, the only man charged with the murder of Tupac Shakur, is in the books. We're going to recap the biggest moments from opening statements, which lay out what we can expect from each side, to the start of witness testimony. This is a case almost 30 years in the making, and it has just begun. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Here we are. After almost 30 years, day one of the murder trial for the only person ever criminally charged in connection with the killing of Tupac Shakur. Out in Las Vegas, Nevada, Duane Keffe D. Davis is charged with murder with a deadly weapon with the intent to promote, further, or assist a criminal gang. And a jury will have to decide if he is guilty or not guilty. 16-person jury, 10 women, 6 men, 4 of them alternates. The hip-hop icon was gunned down on the streets of Las Vegas back on September 7th, 1996 in a drive-by shooting, and prosecutors allege that Davis orchestrated this killing. Not that he actually pulled the trigger, but that he facilitated it, that he aided in the commission. So why does the prosecution believe Keffe D did this? What evidence do they claim they have against him? Well, let's go to the opening statements, okay, which from a legal point of view, I have always said, are some of the most important parts of a trial. They are technically not evidence. It's a preview of what to expect in this case, both from the prosecution and the defense. But I will tell you, there are some statistics and studies out there that will show jurors, even though they aren't supposed to, will decide a case or lean a certain way after opening statements. So, with that in mind, here is Prosecutor Binu Palal laying out the scene, the stage, the context, the case against Davis.
On September 7th, 1996, Tupac Shakur came to Las Vegas to attend a Mike Tyson fight. After the fight, Tupac, along with Suge Knight, Trayvon Lane, and other people that were with that group, ran into a person named Orlando Anderson. And Orlando Anderson is the defendant's nephew. And when they encountered Orlando Anderson sitting by himself, they attacked him. That attack was captured on video. During those 2.5 hours, you will learn that the defendant was escalating and planning the retribution for the beating of his beloved nephew. Now, let's be clear. Duane Davis did not pull the trigger. But what he did do was plan the retaliation for the beating of his nephew. You will learn that Duane Davis got the gun. You will learn that he got into a white Cadillac. You will learn when the opportunity presented itself for retribution, Duane Davis made sure that the shooters were armed and ready to execute their revenge. One of the connections that Duane Davis gets through his association with Zip Martin is with Sean Puffy Combs, who was then the CEO of Bad Boy Entertainment. Sean Combs wanted some security when he came out to the West Coast. He was worried about Mob Piru. He was worried about the members of Death Row Records. And so Duane Keffe D. Davis agreed to be around to act as unofficial security for Sean Combs and his artists when they came out west, in order specifically to ensure there are no problems with Mob Piru and Death Row Records. And this took a rivalry between Mob Piru and Southside Compton Crips and escalated it. And those tensions boiled over in the Lakewood Mall in the summer of 1996.
Yeah, so you're looking at this surveillance footage of this purported beating of Orlando Anderson at the MGM Grand, okay, this hotel in Las Vegas. This is right after the Mike Tyson fight. Let me just say something real quick. I know this is a little bit of a 180, but I have to call it out. Great sponsor of ours. If you run a business, if you have your own business, you know that in and of itself is tough enough. why make it harder doing things manually or relying on dozens of apps that don't talk to each other, right? That's where our sponsor Odoo comes in. So Odoo is an all-in-one business management platform with a full suite of integrated apps that seamlessly connect all your operations. From sales and accounting to manufacturing, shipping, Odoo can automatically generate professional, sleek-looking sales orders and invoices and vendor bills. And it can automatically assign sales teams and send email updates through each sales stage, and even use AI to pull reports that help with your decision making. For manufacturing, their apps can sync inventory with real-time production and purchase updates so you never run out of stock. And when it comes time for accounting, that's also fully automated. Odoo can create invoices and track expenses and even summarize data with AI to save you hundreds of hours. You know what the best part is? You can choose your apps and even build custom workflows. So it's all fully tailored to your business's needs. Take your business to the next level by consulting with an Odoo expert today for free at odoo.com/sidebar. Okay, so now we get into that alleged opportunity and what the prosecution claims Davis did.
Duane Davis hears about this beating. And what you will hear is that in his world, there is no question that a response is required. What we learn is that Duane Davis is upset about the beating of his nephew. And frankly, that's not an unusual response. What's unusual is the next steps Duane Davis takes. Unusual for the normal person, maybe not unusual for in gang culture. Duane Davis decides he is going to organize a retaliation, that this beating cannot go unanswered. Then he runs into a person named Zip Martin. Remember the Zip Martin that was a connection with Bad Boy Entertainment from New York? And Zip Martin tells him that he has a gun and that he can come help him out.
As you just heard, and if you've been following our preview coverage of this trial, this case is largely, if not almost entirely, based on Duane Keffe D. Davis's statements, okay? And it's not just what witness A claims Davis said. No, these are recorded statements and also potentially, allegedly, a book that he wrote. These are statements that Davis has made over time where he, as the prosecution will argue, allegedly confessed to his participation in Tupac's murder. For example, this is when he reportedly sat down in 2008 to speak to a task force that was investigating the death of Notorious B.I.G. And while he allegedly made statements as early as 1998 about Tupac's killing, it was in 2008 when he does this secret interview. So they were investigating the death of Notorious B.I.G., Christopher Wallace, killed 6 months after Tupac. And according to the prosecution, the feds approached Davis because he was apparently leaving the same party in LA, the one that Wallace had left right before he was killed. According to the prosecution, they picked Davis up on this narcotics trafficking beat. They have this case against him. He claims, look, I don't know anything about Notorious B.I.G.'s killing, but I do have information on Tupac's killing.
Hey, where you go to? What do you tell Zip right now? You tell Zip, hey, we're going to go handle this or whatever?
Yeah. Like, y'all want us to come? Like, you know what I'm going to do? It was, they going to get the 662 club.
Who's that?
Everybody.
Right.
Yeah, everybody. You want to come?
Well, how do you know that Zip's got a gun? Does she tell
It
you?
was in a lobby, but I'm in the lobby. I got one.
Did you ask her? Do you have one, or just tells you, hey, I got one?
I only asked you need help. That's what you need. You're okay, cool. All right.
And in case that wasn't clear, here's the prosecution explaining more alleged details about what Davis is accused of doing here.
So later, Duane Davis organizes 2 vehicles to go over to the 662 club. Before that, he gets the gun from Zip Martin. And in that white Cadillac, before the shooting occurs, Duane Davis explains that the driver is Terrence T. Brown. In the rear driver's side is DeAndre Dre, or Big Dre Smith. In the rear passenger side is Orlando Baby Lane Anderson. And Duane Davis himself, Keffe D, is in the front passenger side. And this is how Duane Davis explains the murder of Tupac Shakur.
And this is Keffe D, Mr. Davis, seemingly explaining himself how this all went down.
Yeah. He's a little bit short right here. We came up Harlem at the Las Vegas Boulevard. And here they come in that BMW, and here they car and brawling, Tupac. I was like, there you go. Made a U-turn. We wasn't supposed to make it. Just swung the U-turn. They was in a little lane. We just pulled up on the side, checked every car to see where they was.
So what directed your attention to him was some girl shouting at Tupac?
Tupac, he gave himself away. Otherwise, they would have got away. He all ran out quick. You know how you do. They was like, bitch. He gone.
You did a U-turn, so then you pull alongside of it. You got into the car. Have you already handed him the gun at this point, or at what point do you hand him the gun?
I thought he was going to go on my side. No, I don't know that. Going to the out for him. You know. He pulled on his side.
So you were fitting to blast if you had to, or you was?
Yeah, we would have been on my side all the way.
Okay. So you hand the gun to the back seat.
Yeah.
You're right.
I gave it to Dre. Dre was like, no. And now he's like, dude, fuck.
So what you hear Duane Davis say, admit, that as they see Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight driving to Club 662, Duane Davis, along with Terrence Brown, DeAndre Smith, and Orlando Anderson, decide to make a U-turn, confront Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight. Duane Davis has the firearm. It's a firearm he got from Eric Von Zip Martin, and then he passes it to the back. Duane Davis says that if they were on his side, if Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight were on his side of the vehicle, he would have shot them himself. But because they were on the other side, he handed it to DeAndre Smith. DeAndre Smith, according to Duane Davis, did not want to shoot at that time, so Orlando Anderson shot into that car. Duane Davis explains this over and over again.
Literally, on the street.
Okay, Wayne starts blasting. You say Suge looks over, he sees you.
Yeah.
He looks right at you.
Exactly.
Are you nervous?
There's nobody gets something to say, you know.
When he looks over at you, and then, Tupac's busy getting shot. Evidently, the story is Tupac's trying to either get out
In the
of
back seat or something.
Yeah, what do you see happening inside there?
I see the bully going shit again. I thought he was dead. He was straight or something in the head or something.
He piece of glass went into his neck right here.
Yeah, the thing in the head.
Great.
I thought he was dead.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did you guys stop the girls? You go to stop the car and let them get off?
Yeah. And we made the right.
Okay, but he stopped what you said, like, let off.
We made the right and some brawler Seabury and Collins. Stupid bitches. Shot they went around and they stopped.
So Tupac's trying to jump in the back seat. What should we?
So, he couldn't really duck because he was too big, you know.
Now, this case is not just based on one recorded 2008 interview. It is based on multiple alleged statements, and it is that frequency and the circumstances surrounding those alleged admissions that could prove problematic for Keffe D.
In 2009, Davis is being so helpful to federal authorities that he actually flies out to New York to try and get Zip Martin to implicate himself in the Tupac Shakur murder. Zip Martin at that time was dying of cancer, was out of the game, and really did not engage with Duane Davis. In 2009, though, Duane Davis gives an interview to Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Detective Dan Long. Now, Duane Davis is more guarded in that interview. It is a different setting than the interview of 2008. It's not a secret proffer agreement. But Duane Davis does admit a number of things. That he was in Las Vegas, that he was mad about Orlando Anderson getting beat, that he was the boss, that he was in the white Cadillac, that he procured the firearm that ultimately killed Tupac Shakur. So, in 2017, Duane Davis decides to go public. He's approached by the producers of a show called Death Row Chronicles that appears on BET. And this is just a small portion of what he says is his motivation for appearing.
When one of the DVD days, I was a copy, kingpin, drug dealer. I'm the only one alive that really can tell you the story about the Tupac Shakur. People have been pursuing me for 20 years. Newspapers, magazines. I'm coming out now to tell the story because I got cancer. I got nothing else to lose. All I care about now is the truth.
Remarkably, in 2019, Duane Davis then decides he's going to publish his own book. And with regards to the book, it is certainly a lot of self-aggrandizement. But again, the core remains. He was mad about Orlando Anderson about the beating of Orlando Anderson, his nephew. He was in Las Vegas. He got the gun. He was in the white Cadillac, and he handed the gun to the sheriff.
So you ended up getting in the car with Baby Lane and them?
I got in the car with them, yeah, and we ran into them. We went up to the light on Sunset and Flamingo, and dude was acting like he was in a parade or something. And that BMW hanging out the window, hey, this Tupac, he's Tupac. And then they was hollering for him, and we let it go down. It came up on the side of him.
Now, there's something key here that the prosecution hits upon. One emotion that allegedly surfaces from Keffe D, which the prosecutor claims shows that he participated in this killing of Tupac Shakur. And that emotion is anger.
And again, what remains, even as late as 2020, 2021, 22, is Duane Davis's visceral anger at Tupac Shakur.
You do wrong, dude. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's why he had on the tail. Yeah, dude. You know what I'm saying? They was wrong. My nephew never jumped on me. They jumped on my nephew. My nephew didn't throw a punch, man. Wrong, dude. Jumped on my kid.
28 years later, that is the visceral anger that Duane Davis had for Tupac Shakur. It did it in 2.5 hours. He took care of what he thought was the proper response. And 28 years later, he still is angry about what Tupac did. On September 7th, 1996, Tupac Shakur publicly, on camera, participated in a humiliating beating of Duane Davis's nephew, Orlando Anderson. And Duane Davis knew that in his world, that required a response. And over the years, in private interviews, in public statements, and even in private calls, Duane Davis has repeatedly told us over and over again about the anger he felt and his own role in the revenge drive-by shooting of Tupac Shakur. And now, nearly 30 years later, we're going to ask you to finally hold Duane Davis accountable. Thank you.
So those are the key moments from the prosecution's opening statement. Remember, they have the burden of proof. They have to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. And as you notice, they spent almost all the time on the alleged statements and alleged confessions of Duane Keffe D. Davis. And that is exactly what Keffe D's defense attorney, Michael Sanft, focused on in his opening statement.
At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself if what they're saying is really truth or fiction. Fact or fiction. There are no facts to point to Keffe. Not one.
Three themes here from the defense, as far as I could see, okay? One, there's no other evidence tying Keffe D to Tupac's killing. For example, the prosecution doesn't seem to have the murder weapon in this case. Two, sloppy investigation, not complete. And three, you can't trust what Keffe D said, that he made it all up.
LAPD reached out to him, called him up and said, hey, Detective Long, we have the gun. And we've tested it, and it matches back to what you're looking for in terms of the weapon that killed Tupac Shakur. Detective Long goes to LAPD, gets the gun, transports it back, gets it tested, and it comes out as not a match. LAPD tells him after, We gave you a fake gun to test you out. What you will also learn is out of all those people in that room, not one person verifies what Keffe D tells them. That the FBI, the gold standard of investigation in our country, did not go out and follow up on what was said. Now, one of the things the state showed you was a picture of a car and indicated there was 4 individuals in that car. And he tell you that at some point, 3 of those individuals are dead and Keffe's the only one that's remaining. But at the time that he gives his statement to the task force in 2008, there's another individual that's still alive. They never interviewed that individual to verify that that information was true. Why not? Because the FBI just fell asleep? That the LAPD just didn't care? Keffe was never charged for any of what he said during that time period. And it's because they knew he was full of crap. Otherwise they would have. Why wouldn't they? When Detective Long comes back to Las Vegas, he goes and he talks it over with the Clark County District Attorney's Office. And you know what happened then? They didn't charge the case either. In 2009. Ask yourself the reason why that is. Is it because they just didn't care about Tupac Shakur or his life? Or is it because they looked into it and realized we can't verify this information, we don't believe this to be true?
And you'll notice if you watch this entire defense opening or even during the course of this case, the defense spent a lot of time criticizing the work of retired Las Vegas police detective Clifford Mogg.
And Mr. Mogg goes to the grand jury. And in the grand jury, it's a secret proceeding. We're not there, but the defense, isn't sitting like we are here. It's just the prosecutors. There's a panel of people called the grand jurors, and you have people come up and they testify under oath. And there's really no way for the defense to challenge any of it because it's done in secret. We don't really know about it. But in this particular case, Mr. Mogg is sworn to testify truthfully. And you know what Mr. Mogg does? He just reads pages of the book into the record. He doesn't do any more in terms of an investigation than read pages of a book into the record. He never documents in any of his efforts any verification of the book before he reads it into the record. He walks up, gets on the stand, and reads the book as if it's the gospel truth. What you're going to find out about Mr. Mogg is that he never wrote a report. So when he took over the case in 2017, all the way up until when he retired in 2023 and was in front of the grand jury, he never wrote a report. Not one time. Not like Detective Becker, and not like Detective Long, and not like any other police officer who does their job. This man never writes a report.
And one of the other things the defense did in their opening statement is they called out the prosecution's witnesses, like Reggie Wright Jr., who, by the way, I've interviewed before. This is somebody who worked as security for Death Row Records. Attorney Saft claimed he's a felon who wasn't around when the shooting occurred, that he allegedly ordered people to lie during the investigation. The defense also mentioned Devonta Dirk Rock Lee, who Saft claimed is a paid informant who will say whatever he needs to. Defense attorney Saft also mentioned retired LAPD detective Greg Kading, that he allegedly stole the Tupac and Biggie case file for personal gain. Now, before we get into the testimony, just here is how the defense attorney Saft, wrapped things up in his opening statement.
What you're going to hear from witnesses that will testify to this is that Keffe D was known to do this. Otherwise, it's just that. And at the end of all of the time we spend together, what you're going to find is that the state cannot prove to you beyond reasonable doubt the claim that Keffe had anything to do with a first-degree murder with use of deadly weapon. There's no facts to that matter.
Okay, so two different perspectives, two different opening statements. Let me go to witness testimony. I actually want to start with the second witness of the day. We'll get to the first, but the second witness called by the prosecution was Ingrid Stokes. She claims she was on the Las Vegas Strip that night, that she was in a car on the same street as Suge Knight and Tupac, that they were in their own car, and she was right there as the shooting happened. So this is what she said when being questioned by the prosecution.
We were driving, hanging out in a convertible, and my girlfriend, Lauren, at the time, she knew Suge, and she told us, hey, there's Suge, pull up next to him. I'm going to ask them what they're doing. And so Shalane was the driver, and she slowed up close to them.
And so you said Shalane was the driver.
Yes.
Where were you seated?
I was the passenger in front.
In the front passenger?
Yes.
So Shalane's driving, you're in the front passenger, and the other two women are in the back seat?
Yeah, Tanisha's behind me, and then Lauren is behind the driver.
After all these years, you still remember that, huh?
Well, yeah. Some things you don't forget. That one.
And so then when you start driving, when you see Suge and your friend starts talking to Suge, what happens?
They were talking, and she was like, what's going on? What's happening? We look over initially, we pull up to the car, and we kind of nod or say hello, that kind of thing. But we were in our own little world. While she was talking to him, he said, hey, we're all going to the club. Why don't you follow us? Get behind us. You can go with us. There was a car behind us, and they kept going around us trying to get in front of us. We almost hit the car. When we were trying to drive off, there was a car in the lane, that last lane, that was the turning lane, and it was a white four-door. Can't tell you what kind, but I just know it was like white-ish. And we almost hit him. We were trying to get away.
Were you trying to pursue the white car?
Hell no. Just want to get away. The police officer made us sit on the ground on the sidewalk in front of everything. Like cars are still, I think, may have been passing. So it was kind of an odd situation where they were like kind of rude to us, and then they're treating us like we're suspects. We really didn't know what happened, though.
Now I want you to listen very carefully to what she says when questioned by the defense on cross-examination.
When we pulled up on the side of him and she was talking to Suge, he was relaxed, like sitting in the sitting in the passenger seat, and Suge was relaxed talking to Lauren. Nothing, like there was no engagement.
Okay, so as you're sitting there and you pull up, Tupac was not hanging out the window and doing something out of the window.
Absolutely not, no.
Okay. His torso was not sitting on top of the window yelling to his fans, Tupac, Tupac.
No, there was no fans around. They were just driving in the car, listening to music like we were.
What I took away from that, does that account contradict what Keffe D said in one of his interviews, where he seemingly claimed that people were yelling, Tupac, Tupac, and he was leaning out the window? She seems to disagree with that account, or her account's different. So I think the defense is trying to mount the argument here, you can't believe what Keffe D said, that he's an unreliable narrator. Something to think about. Now I want to go back to that first witness of this trial, okay? Gary Dale worked for the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. He was working on a bike team the night that Tupac was killed. Claimed that before the shooting, earlier in the night, he stops this black BMW that he claims had no license plates, and he says was occupied by Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur. But this is the key moment. Listen to this account of what happened after the shooting, and I will tell you, it is chilling to hear and legally potentially important for the prosecution.
Fast forward about, I'd say 10 minutes later, something unusual happened. What happened?
We were continuing riding on the strip area. We were heading southbound on the boulevard, and we heard some calls come out about a vehicle. Can't remember exactly what was said, but heading up towards Harmon, we saw the vehicle that had been described in the median of the road. It looked like it had ran up on the median and was stopped there in the middle of the boulevard.
What do you do when you see that?
We approached the vehicle.
Is it you and Mr. Goldgart? Or Officer Goldgart?
Officer Goldgart and I.
And do you see either of the two people that you saw earlier in the vehicle?
Yes.
And who is that?
Marion Knight was outside of the vehicle, walking around, talking, and Tupac Shakur was being removed by EMS people.
As Marion Knight is talking, do you recall anything he's saying?
He was telling us to take care of Tupac Shakur.
Are you able to have any sort of communication with Mr. Shakur?
He was still talking, and I was trying to convince him to tell me the name of whoever his assailants were.
And did he ever respond?
Yes, he responded no, we'll take care of it. So something like that.
No, we'll take care of it.
We'll take care of it. Something like that.
Talk about that large gold chain we see in that photograph right there. The second time you came across Mr. Shakur, was he wearing that gold chain that's around his neck?
No.
So the thing that came into my mind, did Tupac Shakur seemingly know who did this to him? And if there's a continuation of events here, Orlando Anderson, and then this is retaliation, you can see why this might be pivotal for the prosecution. But there you have it, okay? Some of the biggest moments from day one. We're planning on doing this every day. We want to make sure that you have a full recap of the most important moments from each day. We're going to analyze it for you as well, both from the prosecution and the defense, what is going on in this case. And by the way, you can stream this trial for yourself on the Law&Crime Trials channel. Hopefully you can check it out. Okay, before we wrap things up, I want to just tell everybody something. So on Sidebar, you know, we break down major trials. We walk you through the key pieces of evidence. Sometimes we're kind of limited on how much we can show you. That is why, if you haven't heard yet, you can look at everything on case files on the Law&Crime Plus app. We have it for Tupac Shakur too. So we are opening up the evidence vault so you can inspect the raw body cam footage, the 911 calls, the crime scene photos, the full trial tapes firsthand. Plus, you get ad-free streaming of all your favorite law and crime and court TV shows. You can see the full picture for an entire month free. Head on over to lawandcrimeplus.com, enter promo code SIDEBAR, and start exploring today. And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. And you can also check us out on NBC's Peacock as well. Thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you next time.